Brilliant. Craig, Malcolm, very nice to meet you.
Okay, Malcolm.
First of all, what sort of soup did you have?
I don't know what kind of soup that was, but it was first class. It had a nice kick in it and a nice brown roll, wheaten roll, so you can't beat that.
Right, we'll be reasonably quick because I haven't eaten a meal in the sports ball in 3 years and I would really like to get to mine. So
I'll answer these questions quickly then.
But I really do appreciate you coming to speak to us today. So first of all, we know you best for your time as manager of the Scotland national team. But what were your highlights as a professional player?
Well, I had 1 or 2 good years as a professional player. I was a good youth and schoolboy player and was picked for the Scottish schoolboys, the Scottish youths, along with luminaries like Billy McNeill and Alec Ferguson. I've got to remember to call him Sir Alec. We were in the same team and I signed for Rangers. And I was there 3 years but never played in the first team. I went when I was 17 and I went on loan to Dundee when I was 20. And my best playing years were at Dundee Football Club. We won the Scottish Championship in season 61-2. And I got a championship medal as a young 21-year-old, so I was very proud of that. But a succession of knee operations upset my career and it went from there quickly down. I was 5 years at Dundee and then I was transferred to Falkirk, so I finished my time 3 years at Falkirk. But the best was when Dundee won the championship and were in the semi-final of it's now the Champions League. It was then the European Cup. Only one club from each country, the champions of each country of Europe, played in the European Cup, and Dundee were in the semi-final. So proud to be in that squad as well.
I imagine the atmosphere in the games was incredible at that point.
Yeah, it was indeed. You know, the atmosphere in these European games at Dundee, tremendous. And it's a small stadium by modern standards, but they were packing 28,000 in to Dens Park. It's now all seated, so it can only hold now about 14,000.
How health and safety has changed, hasn't it? So how has the game changed since you graduated from Jordan Hill?
Well, big changes since I was a student at Jordan Hill. There were no substitutes. That's the biggest change, I think. There's a change obviously in the equipment. The ball is much lighter. The boots are much lighter and there's no protection in the boots. The studs, you used to have to hammer your studs in to a leather sole. Now they screw in. But the big change is that in my time there were no substitutes. So that if you were hurt playing, you had to feign fitness and not let the other team see you were hurt. Now they're feigning injury to get off, so there's a big change in that regard. And substitutions are quite an important part of the tactics of the game. If you can substitute effectively, as Sir Alec Ferguson does so well, it helps you as a manager. And that wasn't an issue in my time. You had to play a man short if someone was hurt. Now you get a replacement on. I think they could refine it even better, but that's the biggest change. The game is faster, the players are fitter, the pitches are better, I think, than they were, although there are some exceptions to that. Our own pitch at times at Aberdeen. So these are the main differences.
I have an immense amount of respect for that, for the sometimes taking a hit and continuing on through the game to support your team. An immense amount of respect.
Also, there's a huge amount of money in the game now that wasn't. When I started as a young player at Rangers, the whole team got £20 a week. And then at the end of that first season, that was 1958, they all got a rise to £22 a week. And they went out and bought a new car in the strength of that £2 a week rise. They made a big difference in the money. They're all, if you're in the Premier League in England, play a few years there, you're a millionaire without question. Because of the Sky deal, television, each club in England gets a minimum in the Premier League of 60 million to start their season. Well, you could have 20 players in your squad, pay them 3 million each, and it's paid for by the TV money without the attendances or any other sponsorship. That's an exaggeration, but that's, you know, a computation. Simple maths, but obviously most teams have more than 20 players and a lot of young players, and they've got staff to pay and all kinds of overheads, so they're not all getting 3 million.
That's the business about Manchester United, where the 17-year-olds now, they had to expand the car park for all their cars. When you said an increase from 20 to 22, I thought you were going to say they all went out for one night and one night in Glasgow, but it's a change of lifestyle really with that, isn't it? So what was the atmosphere like in '98?
Well, in '98, the Scottish fans, as you know, traditionally, the Tartan Army is fantastic, and wherever the Scottish team plays, even now when we're not qualifying, there's a great support. But can you imagine, I'm sure, the support that we had in the World Cup in '98 in France? It was quite incredible. You know, everything was big time. The Prime Minister came in a helicopter to our hotel in France to wish us well. We arranged the team to travel in the kilt for the opening game to play Brazil, and when we arrived at the stadium in the kilt, the response was fantastic from the Brazilian fans as well. And you know, I just think that it's an episode of my life that I can't ever forget, but because I was so involved, I didn't savour the moment well enough. You know, you were concerned about your team selection, the fitness of the players, the tactics, were they right? The Scottish press were saying the word humiliation. You kept reading that, and the last thing we wanted was a humiliation. And I was glad to say that we played very well in the opening game. But the fans were terrific. The other games were good. The last one was a disappointment. We had a player sent off against Morocco. After it was 1-0, we lost a player. Burley was sent off. And sadly, my biggest defeat in all my 70 games with Scotland was that 3-0 to Morocco, and I was a bit ashamed of that, but by and large it was a successful tournament, and we're delighted to have been there. Never mind how we compete, we got there, and that was good.
That's incredible. I bet it was a good time to be proud to be Scottish. So the final question, you played for Rangers as a youth player. Do you think they will recover from the situation they're in just now? Do you think they will bounce back?
I think so. I think the support for Rangers is incredible, and I'm friendly with Ali McCoist, and he is most amazed and grateful for the terrific support. In the third division, they're getting 45 to 50,000. I mean, no one in the world of football could ever imagine that a third-tier team, a team in the third tier competition in a country, would get 45 to 50,000 regularly in the home matches. I mean, it's quite unprecedented, and sometimes it's the second biggest attendance in Britain, bigger than the full attendances in the Premier League in England. So I know Manchester United have a bigger stadium, Arsenal and Newcastle, but other than that, Rangers can compete. And some Saturdays, if Manchester United are away from home, and if by coincidence Arsenal are away, maybe only Newcastle have a bigger attendance than Rangers. If Celtic are away, Celtic have a slightly bigger stadium. So the Rangers situation is quite unique, well, totally unique in world football. And I think with the commitment of the support they have and the patience that they'll need to get back into the top echelon, they'll eventually get back where they were, but it'll take quite a while.
And I know I said that was my final question. I don't want to hold you from your main course too long, but what do you think the social impact of having the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow will be for the youth in Glasgow?
Well, first of all, the physical impact is already apparent when you see the structures that are being built for competition in Glasgow. And you know, the cycle track for a start, and out at Celtic Park just opposite there, the accommodation for athletes. The Commonwealth Games, they're going to improve the city, the amenities in the city. I think when they get all the visitors from the various countries, that I think it will be a multinational city, and it's a fantastic boost for any city to get the Commonwealth Games. Think of the restaurants, think of the hotels, think of the taxi driver. I mean, the amount of money that it will generate, not that that's the prime purpose, but incidentally, everyone in the city will benefit. And when the games are over, I was in Korea when the Football World Cup was there, and they were demolishing a lot of the stadia, but they were leaving some of the smaller ones in some of the training areas. So the impact will be absolutely enormous. And of course the sporting impact will be even greater, because it will motivate youngsters in the various sports to compete. they'll go and watch the top athletes, the top swimmers, the top games players, and they'll want to emulate them. So I think it's a fantastic thing for the city of Glasgow.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for your time, and I really hope you enjoy your mains.
You're welcome, Malcolm. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.